Hi, everyone. Oh, I think we're just being recorded. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar tonight, which is how second-generation Asian Americans benefit from debate and public speaking. I'm your host tonight, Harry. I'm a junior at Columbia University studying economics and philosophy. Just to briefly go over our schedule for tonight, first, I'll give a quick introduction of my organization, which is Alliance for Impact. I want to thank AFI for doing so much behind the scenes to make this happen. Then I'll join in a conversation with our two panelists today, Clara Chen and Richard Liu. And then Allison is going to introduce related debate and public speaking programs offered at AFI. And finally, we'll wrap up tonight with a quick Q&A session where you'll have a chance to ask us questions. Feel free to also type your questions into the chat throughout the webinar. And yes, the webinar will be recorded. And once you have the questions, we'll get to them at the very end. So without further ado, let me first introduce AFI. Let me just share screen real quick. Cool. So AFI, the mission statement is to empower Asian Americans to participate and make positive impact on all aspects of society through knowledge sharing, collaboration, cross-cultural communication. And at AFI, we emphasize the power of impact and inspire others in our community to give back. We take this philosophy very seriously and we apply it to our everyday activities. This specific, I guess, core unit of AFI is the Center of Parents and Children, TCPC. The mission is to offer a high quality parenting education to everyone. We're dedicated to helping parents to raise their children with love, intelligence, life, and dream, so they're better prepared to become brilliant citizens for the challenging future. TCPC aims to form an inspiring, diversified, and supportive Asian community by organizing various online and in-person activities, including webinars, discussions, trainings, tutoring, education, coaching, etc. We invite professors, experts, and parents to share their knowledge and experiences to help our parents and children learn and grow. Here are just some of the numbers to illustrate the impact that AFI has had in the past few years. So right now we have 8 programs for all ages, including children and adults. We cover a lot of important topics nowadays, such as mental health, ADHD, ASD, special need, culture, parenting, etc. Right now, we have more than 110 volunteers involved in the TCPC community service. There are more than 500 experts with various backgrounds, more than 1,000 interactive messages every day on our platform, and more than 5,200 WeChat members. So you can really see that we're growing and we love to make an impact. So again, there are so many different aspects that our programs are trying to cover. ASD, special education, youth activities, you name it. If you want to learn more about our community or to get involved, you can scan the QR code and join more AFI WeChat groups. Yeah, so I guess let me just quickly stop share. Yeah, so I guess now for the main event of the day, I'd like to present to you Clara Chen and Richard Liu. Could you two just take a moment to kind of talk about yourself, your background, and also kind of why you're here today with us to present this topic? We can start with Clara.
All right, I'll start us off. So, hi everyone, my name is Clara. I am a freshman at Harvard. Prior to Harvard, I went to a boarding school in Connecticut called Loomis Chaffee. And in high school, I was the captain of my school's debate team and Model UN team. So I spent all 4 years participating in tournaments, kind of leading underclassmen with getting prepared for those tournaments. and then also obviously going to them and winning awards for my team and so on. And the style of debate that I did was mostly parliamentary debate. So we'll probably get more into this later if people are interested, but there's many different styles. Some of them require more preparation than others. So parliamentary, the style that I did was it's very spontaneous. So you don't know what you're debating until you get to the day of the tournament. And then once you're told the topic, you don't have much time to prepare. So for example, one style I did, they would give us one packet of information and you have 1 hour to prepare. But another style that I did, there's different topics every round and you only have 10 to 15 minutes to prepare after choosing the topic with your partner, and there's no outside resources. So it was very reliant on your own knowledge and background. So that's kind of the style that I did and got pretty good at. I'm not super familiar with the other debate styles, but Model UN is kind of similar to those in that there's a lot of preparation that goes into Model UN tournaments. So I do kind of have experience with researching for tournaments through Model UN. And I'm excited to share more about my experience today, and I'll pass it over to Richard.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Liu, and I'm a senior at the Little Rock Central High School in Arkansas, and I'm an incoming freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, where I'll be studying finance at the Wharton School. In high school, I am the captain of the debate team. I can't say that I was yet, but I did policy debate, which is I did for 4 years, I did policy debate, which is sort of a different format from parliamentary where there's only one topic the entire year. So everybody debates the exact same topic every single round, but the sort of nuance is that you switch sides every other round. So if the topic was the United States federal government should change its climate policy or enact criminal justice reform, reform the police. And the next round, you would have to argue that, in fact, no, the United States federal government should not do that. So you're caught into this sort of reflexive environment where you're constantly testing your ideas and exposing them to contestation, which allowed me and taught me to sort of, view things from different perspectives and always to consider, different angles to approach a problem, which was really helpful in debate, but also, outside of debate in school, in academics, and just in general life. So I really value debate, and I'm really looking forward to talking more about it today.
Awesome. Yeah, as I guess as we can see, we have like these two very different styles of debate. We have like parliamentary on one side, which is a lot more spontaneous, requires a lot of fast thinking, and then we have the policy debate, which it kind of requires a very extended period of time to really get prepared. I guess kind of as a follow-up, why did you choose to kind of I guess go for your particular style of debate? So for Clara, it's parliamentary, and for Richard, it's policy. And also kind of why did you decide to debate in general? What does it mean to you? Let's go with Clara first.
Yeah, so I guess it wasn't really that much of an option. Like my school only participated in parliamentary debate, so I was kind of forced into doing that style. But honestly, I really enjoyed doing parliamentary debate. It really takes off the burden of like prepping for debate, so the debate becomes more about the actual tournament itself rather than everything leading up to it, which I think there's pros and cons to both sides, but for me, that was pretty important because I was also involved in a lot of other extracurriculars. I was very heavily involved in music and dance. So having less time outside of the tournaments to focus on other aspects of my life was very helpful for me. But in addition to that, kind of one of the reasons I started debate because of like pressure from my parents, like wanting to improve my public speaking, pretty generic reasons. But I think more importantly, the reasons I stayed with debate was because of like how it affected the rest of my life. So through doing parliamentary, because you have to be very on top of current events, very aware of what's happening because you never know what the debate topic is going to be. I became a lot more like invested in knowing about the world, like knowing about current events, and like subscribe to a lot of different news sources so that I could get different perspectives and even just like a quick glimpse every morning of what's going on. And so those habits have kind of really helped me. And I'm really glad that I did debate because of those, and it kind of forced me to keep up to date with what's been happening in the world.
Yeah, cool. And for Richard, why did you choose policy?
So I was really interested to hear from Clara because I was in a really similar boat at first. So when I came to my school, we only had policy debate, but so that was the only thing you could do for my freshman class. What's funny is that the year after that, we got 2 new coaches, and now at our school we have 3 different three different debate categories that we have nationally ranked teams in. So policy, congressional, and Lincoln Douglas. So our program has grown a lot just in the few years I've been on the team, which has been really interesting. For me, I enjoyed policy for the opposite reasons as Clara. So policy is not very spontaneous. You have to do a lot of research before the tournament and before rounds, or else you are almost like you have a really low chance of winning if you don't have like a really solid understanding of the topic of the opponent's arguments. And that just comes with a lot of research. So I enjoyed that because I found the research to be fascinating. And I think it also sort of helped me as a sort of in different fields, like for example, like English class, since I joined debate, has been like one of the easiest classes I've ever taken, because like the level of analysis and research that you do in debate, you can, I don't copy and paste it like into your English class, but yeah, do that. I'm joking, but it helps a lot. Like it helped me a lot with like just being able to research and stuff. But I will say that like Clara mentioned that she had different extracurriculars like in high school. I actually was not able to do many other extracurriculars just because policy debate was so time consuming. So I used to play piano and I had to drop piano. I used to be on Science Olympiad. I had the drop Science Olympiad, Quiz Bowl, all of those. But I do think it was worth it because I just got so much from debate in terms of like the education and the skills it taught me.
Yeah, I think both of you kind of answered this question already, but I think a lot of students are kind of given the kind of the assumption, or maybe, I mean, I think there's some validity into this, but the idea that debate is something that's like very taxing and time consuming. So for both of you, kind of how do you balance between kind of schoolwork and, debate? And what are kind of some of the resources kind of provided by your high school to kind of support you to, really achieve that balance? Clara, do you want to quickly talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, just by the nature of the style I did, there was kind of less research put into that. So I guess I can speak more about my experience with Model UN and kind of balancing preparing for those tournaments, in addition to actually going to the conference, which was also very time consuming. Unlike debate, which is usually 1, maybe 2 days, Model UN can be like 3 or 4 days. So it really takes out a lot of time in your schedule. And so my advice for that is really you have to plan ahead, like what your priorities are, and plan out like when you're going to get everything done. And if debate doesn't fit into your schedule because you're already doing a lot of other things, then maybe it doesn't need to be something that you take up, or maybe it can be sort of something you do more for fun than as a big commitment. So you can kind of decide how much you want to put into it, because you'll still get something out of debate even just by participating in it even passively. Obviously, the more you put in, the more you get out, but it's still like there's many levels of commitment you can choose from. So there's that. But if you do want to get really involved, you really have to plan ahead. And for me, like for Model UN preparation, I mostly did my prep work over the winter break because then I didn't have other activities or schoolwork that I had to deal with. So that was kind of a way for me to kind of get everything done. And also just like it depends on how your school supports you, because in my school everyone was required to do some kind of extracurricular activity. And so for some people that's sports, for some people like me, it might be music or dance. But also debate can count as an extracurricular, like that required activity. And so that was another way that it kind of was naturally built into my schedule, just like preparing with my team and stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah.
So for me, my perspective on sort of the balancing was just something that it was a conversation I had with my parents and my coach pretty much the first year I was in debate, and that was that I would always put school first. So if I had a big test and a tournament the same weekend, I would study for the big test. Like I might skip the tournament. Like if I had to be somewhere for a school, like a science fair or something, I would usually choose that over debate. So I got into like 1,000 arguments with my coach about this, but eventually she sort of just gave up and came to an impasse with me. And we were able to like sort of just reach this compromise where it's like, I would do my best to go to like as many debate tournaments as I could. But if I really couldn't because I had like this important school thing or like I was really behind on schoolwork, she would be understanding. I will say that I do think that debate, or at least policy debate, is time consuming and taxing, but I think that it's 100% not impossible to balance them. Personally, for me, what I found was that like by putting schoolwork first and putting debate sort of as like something that I can do if I get everything else done first, that worked out quite well for me. I also think that debate is actually one of the more efficient activities, if this makes sense. So like I used to play piano for about 10 years and I'd practice more than an hour every day. And I got to a point where I was good at piano, but I could never say that I was nationally ranked. I would, like at best, maybe I was, good in my state, like good in my city. But in debate, I think that if you sort of really dedicate your time and energy to it and spend a few hours each week, you don't have to spend like 2 hours each day, but like maybe a few hours each week, you can see some results improve quite quickly and faster than like certain other things that require like muscle memory, since debate is sort of a activity that's based in the brain and through your communication. You don't need to build like muscles. You don't need to get as many reps in as other activities.
Yeah. That's actually a pretty shocking, I'll say shocking observation, because like you think that debate is something kind of just being eloquent and being fast thinking in general is something that's pretty hard to train, but it's nice to kind of see the other side from Richard. I guess now we'll delve a bit deeper into your individual debate journey. So for both of you, what are some of the memorable / life-changing moments that you've encountered throughout your debate career? If you have to single out like one thing that kind of that helps you kind of answer the question like why you're doing debate, what would that be? Starting with Clara.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say that there are any particular moments that have stuck out to me, like one particular topic or one particular moment. But I think overall, like some of the best memories I have of debate is just being with my team members. And so even though you're only going to have, in my case, it was like 2-on-2 teams. So you're only going to have one person that you're actually debating with for one particular tournament, but you still have a whole community of people that support you. And I think that's something that people often don't think about when they think of debate. They see debate as a very individual activity where you're really trying to be the best that you can be, which is true in some ways, but also I think the more memorable aspect of debate, as well as pretty much any other activity, is like the community that you build from that, and being able to talk to other people from your school or even from other schools about topics that are really interesting is quite life-changing. And in another sense, in some tournaments, people will kind of tap on the table when they agree with something you said, even if they're on the other side. And I think those moments are pretty special because it's like even though you're on opposing sides of a team, you can still acknowledge that the other team is had a really good speech or something like that. And so there is like that aspect of sportsmanship even between teams. So I really think the community and just like having fun with the team practicing tournaments has been the most memorable moments with debate.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. We always love the kind of the social aspect of debate and any other activity. Richard, what about you?
So for me, I need to start a few years before I did debate. So I was really, really, really shy throughout elementary and middle school. Like the truth is like, I just wouldn't be able to do this webinar if I didn't do debate because the activity that I participated in really was formative and important to infusing confidence into my words and my thoughts. So like Clara said, I don't think that there's a single experience in debate that can be isolated as like super life-changing, but I think that just that process of working with different groups of amazing individuals who are passionate, caring and motivated and sort of driven for their own success, but are also invested in yours, is a special experience that you can't really find in anywhere else. Like debate is a team activity. Even in policy debate, I have a partner, but I also have, different teammates from different categories and different styles. And my coaches have been super important to my growth from day one. Miss Valdez, who was my freshman year coach, she believed in me when I didn't really want to do debate. I didn't really believe in myself. I was like, I'm too shy. She was like, no, like it's not how you say it that matters, it's what you say. And she was like, I believe that what you say is meaningful, and I think that you should share that with everyone else. And for me, that was just really, really affirming, and it gave me the sort of confidence to pursue, to try things I was scared of and pursue things that I wanted to pursue. And to me, that was just very memorable and very life-changing.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that for both of you, like, there's like this pull factor, because debate is interesting, like you're self-driven, you're very motivated, but there's also this like push factor, how you're kind of given the scenario to really excel, and how kind of other influences in your life, coaching team, school, your parents, they all push you to kind of become a better debater. So that's something very nice. I guess for a lot of people who might still be beginners to kind of debate, what are some of the challenges kind of / obstacles that they might encounter during their early stages of debate? And for both of you, like what are the steps that you've taken to kind of overcome those obstacles to be who you are today? So for Clara, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a multitude of challenges that come, and it also depends on who you are, because ultimately your success in debate depends on like the judges, and judges have biases outside of the debate itself. So I'll kind of start with like you as a person, as opposed to like actually having success and like winning awards. But I think initially, like the first time you debate, it's not going to go exactly how you expect. Like you'll probably have a speech planned out in your head. You have like, what you want to say, and then you'll go up there and you won't say it the way you thought you would, or you might forget to say something that you thought was going to be really important, or maybe you'll stumble on your words and it'll be very frustrating or something like that. It's not going to go exactly how you planned the first time. And I think I definitely experienced that at first, because I did some debate in middle school, but I switched schools from middle to high school, and the style of debate was much more involved in my high school. So like the speeches were so much longer, and I had a lot of trouble filling up the time with like meaningful things to say. But I think and I think a lot of people get discouraged by that, because they're like, wow, this is so challenging. I don't want to put myself in that position again. But the only way you're going to get better is if you keep trying. And as Richard mentioned, like this is an activity that you will get better at the more you do, because it's not something you have to put in like extra effort. You don't have to be like a prodigy to do debate, because everyone knows how to speak. It's just a matter of practicing a certain way of speaking. So I think that for getting over that challenge, it's really just like keep sticking with it, and it eventually you will overcome kind of the frustrations of not being able to say exactly what you want to say or the way you want to say it. But I think another challenge just comes from, I mean, I guess this is like targeted for Asian audience. So I do want to acknowledge that you will encounter prejudice from judges, like because of just your race or gender or other things like that. And so I think that is another challenge you kind of have to overcome as an Asian person. And there's not really much you can do about it, except just like proving that, putting in the work to prove that you are not what the judges expect. So in my experience, a lot of judges kind of expect that because I am not like white, I don't understand America. And that's just not the case, because people put in the research to do these kinds of things. So I think that kind of just is just having the confidence like saying what you're saying with confidence. Make sure you're prepared if it is like a prepared debate, so that you can undo those prejudices that some judges may have. And another challenge I want to talk about is having to talk on a subject that you don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
I think that can be challenging for beginners, and I think that's just another thing that comes with practice, but you really have to just like put yourself in someone else's shoes. Try to see
Mhm.
like one possible aspect of the other side and just expand on that. And also remember that like they wouldn't have chosen a particular topic to debate if it wasn't debatable. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's been quite a lot of challenges, but there's definitely ways of overcoming it.
Wow, that's a lot. Before I get to before we switch to Richard, I guess just to kind of elaborate on that. Like personally, I mean, I'm a pretty amateurish debater in high school. I was like blissfully unaware of the fact that they're like pretty like deeply entrenched kind of discrimination against kind of Asian American debaters. So Clara, could you, I guess, talk a little bit more about kind of what are the instances that you kind of felt, this ostensible, discrimination, and I guess what are the steps that we can do to overcome that kind of the intersection between being Asian American and the biases.
Yeah, I mean, I think it usually comes out pretty subtly. Like no
Yeah.
one's going to specifically target you in that way, most likely. But I do think it's kind of just like being sure of who you are. And I think at the tournament, there's not really much you can do if a judge seems to like judge a certain way because of that. But I've definitely also seen it with non-Asian teammates. And I think in those cases, it is appropriate to kind of just explain to them that that's not okay. So I've had like one particular teammate. This was in my first freshman year, so I was still like pretty young, and this person was a senior. And I think one of my teammates, who was also Asian, she kind of brought up an international comparison um, for a particular topic. And this student, he was like, "This is not relevant because you can't just compare America to other countries," and was kind of like downplaying the importance of like considering other countries in the context of this
Yeah.
debate. And
Mhm.
so I think those situations where they're just kind of like downplaying other like international perspectives is kind of a way of just showing like America, like you don't understand America, or like you should just like focus on American things, which isn't always the case. So in those situations, I do think like just not like explaining to those teammates that it can kind of help them see a different perspective. So I think it's hard to combat the issue like when you're actually at the tournament, because you obviously want to
Yeah.
keep a certain level of composure. But I think with other teammates, if you kind of see that they're downplaying your perspective as an international or like an interracial person, not interracial, just like as an Asian American, you definitely have like
Yeah.
an international perspective on things.
Mhm.
And I think you should be like confident in having those
Yeah.
perspectives.
Yeah. I mean, I think the scope of this issue is so much more than just debate, but there is, this kind of, I guess, really hateful stereotype, of Asian Americans kind of as perpetual foreigners. So, like when we think of, like a national champion at debate, like we don't automatically think of like I don't know, like an Asian American, with like international background. That's something that's very difficult to change, but I think it is very uplifting to see that we have two national champions here, kind of proving that this stereotype, this generalization is not okay. Richard, do you have like similar experiences, or you can also, or it's okay if you have like different views, but what are the challenges?
For sure. So I would like to retweet a lot of what Clara said. There have definitely been times where I felt uncomfortable in a round. It's often microaggressions that sort of toe the line of explicit racism. So you can't really like call them out to get disqualified, which almost makes it worse in a sense. So it's like you're
Yeah.
getting these really sort of mean looking side eyes from your opponents while you're speaking, or like they snicker in the background, or different racially charged comments from judges. I remember in 9th grade, one of my judges said that I was almost impossible to understand because I had an accent that made me unclear. And I just remember that was like something that really stuck with me. And I didn't know exactly why it made me uncomfortable until later, which is something I'm about to discuss. But there are definitely just insensitive comments and arguments that forward harmful stereotypes in debate, but combating it is a really interesting question. So at least my personal experience is that policy debate is a super, super open activity in the sense that there is one topic, but there are almost an infinite ways of engaging that topic. Is really sort of an anything goes sort of category and competition where you're allowed to experiment and discuss things that are important to you, as long as you can convince the judge that those things should be discussed. So part of my journey with debate was actually reading a lot of race-based philosophy and identity-based sort of scholarship, and then learning about the model minority myth and the yellow peril, and then making arguments about it, putting our ideas into practice, and discussing how ways that the community might be exclusionary or xenophobic, and sort of having debates about those issues, because a lot of people would like say that like we should be discussing the government and we should be discussing current events, and that's 100% true. But we would, say that it's also important for Asian students to be able to talk about, like the ways that this activity is embedded in like harmful stereotypes. Like likewise for like Black debaters or different people who are people of color. I think that debate is a place where you can learn about these stereotypes and learn about this discrimination, and then learn about ways to address it and learn about ways of understanding it so we can better combat it. And that's part of the reason why I find this activity so sort of revolutionary.
That's actually so fascinating. Like when we typically think of debate, we think of, like we're debating like very abstract, philosophical values, invented by Greek philosophers like 5,000 years ago. But the fact that like you're able to kind of integrate like current discussions, and your own experience into the debate, is something, very, very, very valuable. I guess we can now move on to kind of the lessons and the positive impacts that debate have on your academic performance. And specifically, both of you got into excellent colleges, and I'm sure debate played a role in that. So could you talk more about how kind of debate improved your overall academic performance and how that helped you with your college application process?
Yeah, I guess I can start off with how it helped just in school, in high school. So I think debate, as Richard mentioned, is very helpful in writing, because you have experience putting together an argument, and putting together all the points to prove that argument. So you already have the skills of like the logic of putting those transitions together and all of those things. So definitely in that respect, writing becomes a lot easier. And so you kind of excel in your humanities classes because of that. And also in the college application writing process, there's kind of also an aspect there where you have the skills for that as well. But also with just like presentations and general participation in class. So obviously you would think that, I mean, in debate, you practice public speaking, so obviously your presentation skills also improve. But I think just in the day-to-day, like you become much more confident speaking just on the day-to-day basis. So even in class, when you're just having a discussion or when the teacher asks like who wants to provide an answer, you become much more confident to provide your answer because you have the speaking skills that you've built during debate. And so that's kind of like a day-to-day thing that adds up and like makes teachers notice you more, and therefore write better recommendations for college and other things that you might be doing. So there's just a variety of ways that debate kind of helps you become more a critical thinker, a better speaker, a better logic, have better logic, and all of those things really help with school. And then another aspect with the college application process is also just being able to have a personal topic to speak about, because I think a lot of people struggle with college applications on like what to write about in their essays. And I think you need something in your life that you really care about that you could write about. And it doesn't have to be debate, it could be something else. But if you do have experience with debate, as Richard and I both talked about, there's a lot of ways that debate impacts you as a person. And those are all things that you can reflect on later and incorporate into your essays, which are usually more personal. So you just like have a topic that you can write about if you want to. And so that's another thing that's really helpful.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, did you write about your debate experience, like in your personal statement?
So my personal statement, it involved a little bit about debate, but it wasn't solely about debate. I definitely incorporated elements
Yeah.
of debate into my essays. I didn't have one specific essay like dedicated just to debate,
Okay.
but it was certainly in there throughout.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And Richard, you already talked about like how kind of you get to decide like what is meaningful to you, what is kind of worth discussing. Like, I guess for you, are there also kind of important lessons that you've drawn from debate and how that kind of help with your like personal growth, as well as the more practical, pragmatic, areas like college application?
So there are like a few things that I think that like I can literally draw a one-to-one correlation between me doing debate and me having these awesome things I can talk about in my college application that definitely helped me get into UPenn. So the first two things that Clara mentioned, like the analysis and writing ability, is definitely important. It makes you sort of subconsciously check like your own writing, your own arguments, and it makes you fine tune them before you even sort of write them down or present them, just because you're like subconsciously thinking, oh, what if this is wrong? Or, oh, what if there's a better way to do this? Second, it makes you a better writer, and you literally get exposed to so many things in debate that you can talk about and research and sort of just make you a more educated person in general compared to one of your peers. When it comes to the essay topic, I thought that was really funny because my essay, my personal statement also skirted around debate. So I mentioned it for like 100 words of my 600, but I did not focus on debate. However, the things I did talk about were sort of based on my journey with like overcoming like my accent. And part of that was through debate and part of that was through other things. And so my essay discussed debate. It was not 100% about debate. And I don't think I would have been able to write it if I didn't do debate, obviously. I think that debate sort of improvement to your public speaking opens up a lot of channels. So last summer, I did this program called Boys State, which is a program in America where like you are sort of selected by a committee during the summer from your school. You get nominated by your counselor, and you and different boys from different schools around your state get to spend a week sort of learning about government and civic engagement. And at the end of the week, you hold these mock elections, right, for governor, for vice, like lieutenant governor. And I was able to do that this summer. I was really fortunate. And because I had done debate, I was able to present my arguments, my thoughts really effectively in a way that, like, I noticed that a lot of my peers just weren't able to do because I just had more experience with that. And as part of that program, I was able to go to Washington, D.C., since I was one of the top 2 delegates in my state. And I sort of met my senators. So Senators John Bozeman, Tom Cotton, and I was able to have talks with them. And it was a really, really fascinating, wonderful experience. That's also really unique. Not many other people can like write about that. And that was really special to me. I will say this, debate did not help me with AP Calculus, Biology, or Chemistry. So I spent just as much time studying for those classes before I did debate and as much as spent after. However, I don't think that although debate won't make you a genius, but you don't have to be a genius to succeed in debate. But like the speaking skills you get from debate, they will help you for the rest of your life. Like in 11th grade, I did science fair. And I used to like do science fair in middle school, but I would hate it because I'd get super, super nervous. But I didn't do it in 9th and 10th grade because I was like, oh, I don't have to do it anymore. I hate it. It sucks. But in 11th grade, I tried it out because it was virtual. And it was really easy in a sense because it was just debate, but with scientific terms. Like, I know that sounds silly, but it was the exact same thought process. I was able to present my arguments in a different vernacular. Maybe I was using sort of scientific terms instead of international relations terms, but the rationale was the same. Like the execution was the same. So I got first place at science fair in state and regionals. And that was after not doing science fair for like 3 years. That's just like a little tidbit I thought was like really interesting. It's like the skills you take from debate will literally help you in every other facet of your life besides calculus. And I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's super cool. The fact that, there's so many like positive like ripple effects, just from your debate experience, meeting famous senators, winning like science awards. I think a lot of the skills and kind of the fundamental like values that you learn from debate are transferable. They're applicable to many different situations. I guess at this point of our conversation, I'll ask like 2 kind of more lighthearted questions, and then we'll wrap up. So I guess first, how do you win an argument? It's not supposed to be like a very technical answer, like how you like succeed in like parliamentary policy, but like in our daily life, how should we win argument? How do we argue for the sake of arguing? And it could be a very serious philosophical discussion with your professor, or maybe you're just like arguing with your parents, kind of fighting for your monthly allowance. But like what are some of the tips that you can give to us, kind of that can make us like successful in our daily arguments?
I will preface this by saying that I think the way you approach a casual argument with your friends or family or other people is a little bit different to how you would approach an actual debate tournament. So in a debate tournament, you would really want to be organized, have many points, build up every point, refute every single point of your opponents. Many aspects go into like actual debate tournaments. Whereas in your regular day-to-day life, you don't necessarily have to approach it with the mindset that you must win. But I think there is value in debate in that you kind of have to respond, like make your arguments specifically respond to what the other person is saying. Because I think a lot of people who don't have experience doing debate, when they try to argue something in their day-to-day life, they just keep saying what they believe and they don't relate that to what the other person is saying. So for example, if you take the case of like asking for a higher allowance from your parents or like a later curfew, some people might just approach that by saying like they just want to hang out with their friends or like have more money or whatever it is. But I think you also have to tie that into whatever your parent is saying. So if they're saying that like having a certain, like they don't want you to, I don't know, spend that much time out and they want you to be at home, you can kind of structure your argument to directly respond to their argument. And I think that's something that specifically comes from debate, and it's just like kind of listening to the other side and then presenting your argument as a way to either complement that or like make that better. And so, yeah, I would say you approach day-to-day conversations a little bit differently, but there's definitely some transferable skills.
Yeah, cool. What about you, Richard?
So I 100% agree with Clara. You should draw a line between like debates, like competition and everyday life. Like if you debate your friends and your parents, like you debate people at tournaments, you will no longer have friends. But I will say that I've never lost an argument with my parents since I started debate. So something that I notice is that there are just a lot of fallacies and contradictions in everyday arguments because most people just aren't trained to watch every word they say and make sure that the logical extension of like the claim and like the evidence for that claim are connected, right? I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but if you just like try to, in your daily life, if you ever try to back up every claim or like statement with a piece of evidence, you will quickly start to notice which things are true and which things might be assumptions. Debate also kind of just teaches you the art of persuasion, so you can point out your opponent's argument's flaws while sort of hiding your own in a way that sells your product or your argument the best that it can seem. This is actually really useful because a lot of times I had to convince my teachers to not give me zeros for the days that I missed their class because I had a tournament. And I sort of had to, point out like, hey, if you give me a 0, I'm not learning the content any better. You're not going to like disincentivize me from going to tournaments because like your class is boring and tournaments are fun. But like, if you give me the chance to make it up, I can learn the content. I can, use it as review for the test. I can come in for tutoring and help other students if, they're also there. And it's just like those little things can help you out a lot in everyday life and help your social relationships. But yeah, do not take debate too seriously is definitely another thing to remember.
Yeah. I love to learn the art of persuasion. Apparently confronting your like college professors like won't be quite as easy. But, I think I'll let you like figure that out, Richard. But yeah, I guess Clara, you're a freshman at Harvard, and Richard, you're about to become a freshman at UPenn. Do you plan on kind of continuing your debate journey? And even if you decide not to be disinvested in debate, like what are some of the other stuff that's relevant to debate that you wish to do, kind of in the future, for both of you?
Yeah, so I have made the decision not to continue doing debate or competing at least at Harvard, partly just because it's even more of a time commitment in college because they kind of expect you to have that be your main extracurricular. Like in high school, there isn't kind of room for people to do a lot of different things because different activity organizers expect that high school students do many different things. They're still exploring. But in college, they do have, like every activity has the expectation you're going to put a lot of effort into it. So because of that and just like having to travel, miss classes, I've chosen not to compete in debate anymore. But I have been working like behind the scenes a little bit, just helping out organize Harvard's debate and Model UN tournaments. And that has been a very fulfilling process as well, just like seeing other like high schoolers in their debate journey or Model UN journey. Also fellow college students, Harvard also hosts like college tournaments and conferences. So it's been really nice to be kind of behind the scenes. But I will say that even though I'm not actively competing anymore, a lot of the skills that I talked about and Richard talked about like still exist in my life today. Like I still try to keep up with the news as best as possible, as I did in high school when I was kind of forced to through debate. I still try to keep doing that now. And definitely public speaking skills have been very helpful in when you're in a huge class with like 200 people, which isn't usually the case in high school. But like lectures are a lot bigger in college. So having the confidence to speak in front of that many people, even just to like ask a question or kind of those types of things, it has been very helpful to have those skills, even though I'm no longer actively competing.
Yeah, cool.
I realize this probably makes us look terrible, but I'm also not choosing to continue debate in college for many of the same reasons as Clara. So it's not because I don't love debate or because I sort of don't, think that's a valuable use of time, but rather that in college, college policy debate is even more intensive than high school policy debate by a substantial amount. And coupled with the fact that like, in college, you're pursuing your career and you have harder classes and you have different interest groups and organizations you want to engage in, the sort of time commitment of debate makes it unsustainable in sort of my eyes. And I don't think that I would be able to give my time fully to debate or my academics and my career. So I'm sort of just choosing one to focus on for now. But like Clara said, it's also like, I don't plan on like, just, ghosting the community and like blocking all my debate friends and my coach, like deleting their contacts. I've been working with the sort of novices and freshmen and also our younger debaters on our team. And I probably am going to be doing that next year as well. I know Clara mentioned that she helped host a Harvard tournament. I went there last year. I'd like to request that you all please reduce the number of prelim rounds in the future because the schedule gets cramped. But I also plan to still stay engaged with the community. And like she said, the skills you get from debate are lifelong. So like just the increased amount of knowledge and awareness that I have about the world and sort of international affairs, economics, governmental policies, 7 prelim rounds. Yeah. And just like also like my identity and public speaking and confidence, those things I will take with me from debate and I will use them wherever I go.
Yeah. It's funny because you kind of jokingly said that like we're like you're no longer like actively engaged in debate, like it's gonna make you look terrible. But I think it's quite the opposite. You know, the fact that like being a good debater is not the final destination, but only like one of the kinds of milestones of your like much longer, much greater kind of, you know, journey of personal growth. I think that's, you know, that's perfect. The fact that you can still be engaged in, you know, debate relevant stuff, you know, like throughout your daily life, throughout your academics, I think that's something, you know, super assuring. I guess very last, do you have any advice for students who might be hesitant to join speech and debate? What's I guess like for people who are still kind of considering, who are still not so sure, like what's kind of your, you know, your elevator pitch? what's that one thing that you know that you think is gonna, you know, tip them over?
I think that if there's any part of you that wants to try debate, even if you're a bit scared to do it, you should at least give it a shot. Even if you don't go to an actual tournament, hopefully most high schools, the debate team will practice before they actually go to the tournament. So even just doing those practices, you can try to get a feel for the activity and see if that's something you want to do. But I do think that like if there's any aspect of you that even remotely wants to do debate, you should give it a try. And even if you're struggling at first, you should still not give up because you will get better. So that's kind of the student perspective. If there's just like absolutely any part of you that is thinking about it, you should try it. I guess from a parent perspective, it's a little more difficult if you're trying to like convince your kid to do it. I would say you can't be too pushy about it because my mom, she at first was trying to like really push me to do debate, and that made me not want to try it. But then when she kind of stopped talking about it, and the debate activity was like an option in my like middle school like elective or something, that I saw it and I thought about trying it, and it wasn't because she told me to, but because in that moment I wanted to try it. So I think it's good to kind of bring it up to your kid, but you shouldn't force them to do anything that they don't actually want to do on their own.
Cool. And Richard?
So I 100% agree with what Clara said. So I think that you should do debate if you're interested in it. And even more importantly, you should do debate, especially if you don't think you're interested in it because you're scared that it may not be for you or that you'll struggle, because that is exactly how I felt. I've sort of had those same fears. And I think the truth is that in debate at some point in your career, you are going to feel lost and you're going to lose a lot. Debate is just so massive. Like there's so many rules, so many jargony terms, arguments, tiny details that will just lose you the round, like if you make a single mistake. And all of it is incredibly confusing and abstract. I think that despite that, however, I do think that the benefits of the activity are worth it, but you sort of have to be okay with losing. And I know that sounds hard, especially if you're a perfectionist, but also if you're facing pressure from your parents to succeed, or if they question how valuable an activity it is if you're not winning all the time. I want to say that it is very, very valuable, that there's not a single good debater that has never lost a ton in their career. I lost a ton in my career before I got good. And I think that honestly, those lessons that you can take into life about sort of failure and realizing how to deal with it are really valuable. Clara said something at the end I think was really interesting, which is that I don't think that you should, as parents, you should be too pushy about debate. So in fact, for me, this was sort of a blessing in disguise because my parents actually did not like me doing debate. So for like the first 2 years, they were like, they wanted me to do 1,000 other things as well as debate. But I kind of only wanted to do debate. Like I did not care that much about piano or science Olympiad. So we had like arguments over that. But because they never got too involved in debate, they did not care if I win or lost that competition. So like if I lost, they're like, good, like great. Like I'm glad that like they would come for me because they're like, maybe he'll lose enough that he'll quit. And like when I won, you know, I was winning for me. And that felt really good. And it felt like it was really formative to my own self-esteem and confidence, because it was like, this is my work that I'm putting in, and I'm finally seeing the results after so many years. And that almost solves sort of the problem of like not wanting to join debate in itself, I think. Like you don't want to join debate because you're shy. You don't want to join debate because you're anxious about performance. But through gradually performing, like exposing yourself like trial by fire, at some point you will stop remembering that debate was that stressful to begin with. And then you can sort of enjoy the activity and its benefits, and also just enjoy the experience, because it's a pretty fun experience.
Yeah. This is pretty funny. Like, I think for both of you, there's some element of like this like reverse psychology from your parents. The fact that they were pretty reluctant to kind of push you into debate, kind of, you know, ended up pushing you into debate. But I think the more important lesson that we can draw is, you know, this idea of grit, the idea of being able to learn, you know, through failure, through not being, you know, accomplished, you know, at the early stages. But that's how you get better, you know, as a debater or just in life in general. So I guess without me being way too cliche, I'm gonna pass my mic to Allison, and she's gonna briefly talk about the kind of the resources AFI will provide if there are people interested in debate. I think also public speaking in general. So Allison, are you here?
Hi, Sherry. Hi. Sorry, Harry. Actually, we have Chris will replace me to introduce the class. So Chris, are you here? Yeah. Then,
yeah, I'm here. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. And I will introduce a little bit Wiswise Academy's course in here, and then I will transfer the mic to the Rosaline, and she will talk a little bit ISSDA, which is our partner for the Wiswise, and they hold the debate competition by themselves. It's a student running the organization. So give me 1 second. Yeah. Yeah, so first I want everyone to know, like Harry is actually one of our TA for the debate and the writing course, and also Richard has already in our communication course before, I think. And Clara was an intern last summer for the AFI and the Wiswise Academy, and Clara told give us a lot of knowledge about the debate course, like debate competition things, and really thank you guys. And for this summer, Wiswise was planning a lot of debate and public speaking courses, and we hope, but we still like try to make sure the teachers time. So if you have any how to say that, if you have any interesting, just you can just scan the QR code and just go into our classes. Sorry, I mute. It's hard for me. Yeah, and then there is Wiswise also like really famous about financial literacy and the youth investment courses. So this is our springtime the course schedule, and it's begin like April 22, and from April 22 to June. So this is more information, and if you want to get more information, welcome to go to the wiswiseacademy.com to check our class schedules. And also you can add a WeChat to scan the QR code of the Wiswise Academy to know a little bit more about us. And also, yeah, we have this online high school investment summer camp. So after this 60 hours courses, the student can go into a really competitive high school investment competition and hosted by a really famous university, and is really like a 5-star, the best high school competition in the world, I think. And last year we have 2 teams in the going to the semifinal, and and they're still doing the final right now. So we do hope that they go into the final at least at the end. Yeah, and also this is our for grade 3 to 6. It's a mini spring break camp. So in this we have 3 courses like for half days, and one of the courses is kids TED Talk, kids fun TED Talks. So Professor Pape gonna teach a little bit public speaking and to inspire kids and to like help the kids to do the public speaking things. Yeah. Okay. So right now, Harry, you're gonna introduce the ISSDA, or Rosalini gonna?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna pass the mic to Rosalind.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess for the moderators, how do we do that?
I think I can. Let me find. I think. Sorry, everyone. Just wait a sec.
Yeah, I promote Rosalind to panelist. So, Rosalind.
Hi. I think the host needs to let me turn on my.
Okay, try right now.
Okay. And then I will share my screen as well. Give me a second. Okay. I'm not sure if I can share my screen. It's like being weird, but I'll introduce myself first. My name is Rosalind Liu. I am the president of the International Student Speech and Debate Association, otherwise known as ISSDA, which is one of AFI's partners. Today, I wanted to introduce basically what the organization is, what we do, what do we bring to prospective members of ISSDA and people who are just enthusiastic about speech and debate in general. I'm trying to share my screen so I can share the presentation, but I don't know if it's letting me.
I think you need to pass the co-host to the, yeah, she's already, oh, Rosalind, you already co-host, so
yeah, it's, I have like the share screen option, but everything has like a warning sign on it. So it's not letting me know what I can share.
Okay.
Let me just share my entire desktop.
Yeah, I think you can do that.
I'm so sorry for all of the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It says Zoom will not be able to record the contents of your screen until it is quit. So should I re-enter the meeting?
Would it be possible for you to just kind of, I guess, like verbally like describe the stuff that ISSDA offers?
All right, I'll just do it without the presentation then.
Yeah, and we can drop a link or something after the webinar. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the International Student Speech and Debate Association is an organization created by students for students who have the desire to further enhance and develop their speech and debate skills. Our hope is to give students the opportunity to experience speech and debate competitions, lectures, workshops, and other activities that they would not have otherwise. In ISSDA, people can expand their social circle, they can make connections, learn about the national and international speech and debate circuit, and above all else, polish their speech and debate skills. One of the reasons I think speech and debate is so important is, I mean, the panelists have already addressed this, so I might repeat some, apologies ahead of time, but obviously it improves speech and debate, is public speaking skills. But in addition to that, it also fosters communication, which is one of the most important skills in life. So if you look at any successful person, whether it's a celebrity or a famous author or an entrepreneur, business owner, CEO, manager of something, they all have the ability to concisely express their ideas with words. And that is the core of communication.
Speech and debate also helps foster a community. Through speech and debate, you can meet new people, make connections again, and just be able to share life experience and learn about other people's life experiences and help each other improve as well. There are actually multiple issues that ISSDA addresses. The first one is the lack of support and resources in the speech and debate circuit. So some schools will have a speech and debate club, but they don't have a proper coach or sponsor, or they don't have a speech and debate club at all. So without a school club is the main way that most people get into the speech and debate circuit, and without that, they're left stranded without any resources. In addition, there could also be a lack of demand. This is where there's a type of debate called public forum where you need a partner to actually debate against other people. If there's nobody in your community that wants to be involved in speech and debate, then you will not be able to debate in that specific topic or in that specific type of debate. In addition, there's also financial difficulties. It depends on the school, but many speech and debate clubs will have an entry fee to join the club. And sometimes it can be as expensive as $200, including setting up an NSDA account, the t-shirt, the club fee. There's a lot of internal stuff that we don't really know that we don't know the specifics of for school clubs. And just many people might not be able to afford that. Lastly, the limited options and experiences. As the panelists said earlier, there are a limited number, depending on your school and depending on your instructor, there are a limited number of speech types and debate types that you can get into competitively. I heard about policy and I heard about some other types, but in the end, it depends on the organization that you're under. All of these issues are addressed by ISSDA. So for our lack of support and resources, ISSDA itself is a resource that you can use to further improve your speech and debate skills. There is a demand, there will always be a demand for speech and debate at ISSDA because we are an organization founded for that. For financial difficulties, 100% of our activities are free. They're also 100% virtual, so it's convenient for everyone to attend. All of our competitions, all of our lectures, all of our workshops, when you work with an instructor or a judge to receive feedback, all of it is 100% free. So there's no entry fee to enter ISSDA or participate in any of ISSDA's activities. And of course, for limited options and experiences, currently for our activities, we host a number of different types of speech and debate to learn about, but we are always listening to user feedback and just anybody who is interested in speech and debate. We are willing to open up more doors for any type of speech and debate that anybody is interested in. I'm going to go briefly over some of our activities, just a little bit more in depth. So for our competitions, they're mostly monthly. So once every month, we'll have a tournament formatted competition. For that, we'll have unique topics every time, and it's categorized by age group. So elementary schoolers so everybody will be able to attend, including elementary schoolers, and it'll be categorized basically by your experience level or your age group. We'll also have qualified and experienced judges. In some of our past competitions, we have had Professor Pape come join us as a judge. If you're familiar with him, he has been a great help to us. If you aren't familiar with him, Professor Pape is currently working together with Wiswise and AFI for their classes and a lot of their programs. And he has experience in the National Speech and Debate Association, which is the biggest speech and debate association in America. And also, as well as, I believe, many Harvard debate camps and other university speech and debate related opportunities and activities. For our lectures, we'll have guest speakers each time, and each time it'll cover a unique subject. We'll also have a live Q&A section for each lecture so you can receive feedback and ask questions to the speakers. We've had lectures in the past where our executive board has actually come and spoken at, and we've gone over topics like public speaking in general, as well as the breakdown of, we are in the middle of the breakdown of a multi-series breakdown of public forum, which is a type of debate. For our workshops, we have guest instructors as well, along with mock speeches and debates and real-time feedback from your instructors. All of these events are, ISSDA encompasses all of these events where they are all free and all online, 100% virtual, as well as basically we have experienced people coming in to either judge or instruct or lecture you. And ISSDA in general, I believe, is just a really good experience for your, I know most of the people in this webinar are parents. ISSDA is a really good experience for your children to get involved into speech and debate. If they're a beginner, I know some students or some kids might be a little hesitant in speech and debate. Like the panelists said earlier, some people might not be into public speaking. Some people just don't want to do debate as an extracurricular activity. But ISSDA is definitely a place where people can try it out, can do a trial run, or just dip their toes into speech and debate without having to enter a club or an official association with NSDA. We're also currently doing trial classes with international university students. Those will be coming up soon. So you can definitely tell how impactful speech and debate is from the demand, and just beyond being something on a resume or beyond something on like a piece of paper where you can present to colleges or jobs, it's definitely something that's extremely useful in life. I would say it's definitely necessary in a work setting or a school setting or even a personal setting, just being able to communicate with others. Okay, so I had a slide on the presentation where you could find us and it had all of our social medias listed, but that's unavailable. So I will put our website in the chat and you can find a lot of our other contact information and social media available on there.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
That's very comprehensive.
Yeah, I apologize again for the technical difficulties. It might be something on my computer's end. So I just wanted to apologize for that.
Yeah. And I guess for our final round, final session, we're just gonna open up the Q&A. I guess we can start by some of the questions, kind of the common themes that I've seen from the chat box. So I think one kind of recurring question is like, what are the kind of the resources, especially like summer camps, that you can kind of utilize to help you prepare for debate tournaments? Also, I think another tangent is like, what if like your school doesn't have like a former like a very formal NSDA or a debate team? Like, what are the stuff you can do kind of personally to overcome that?
So unfortunately, I never attended a summer camp for debate, so I don't have too much to say on this. But I think there is, if you just like research debate camps, there's many options that come up. Also like the ones that have just been presented. So I would definitely say just like kind of do your own research, maybe see, get feedback about those different options, and kind of pick one that's best. I do have friends that have been to debate camps, so they definitely exist. And it also just depends on your area. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Cool. So I did go to summer camp for debate all 3 years, my last three summers. I'm not sponsored by any of them, so I refuse to give them free advertising. Just kidding. I went to Michigan my freshman year, the Michigan Debate Institute. I thought that was pretty good. I went to the Georgetown Dartmouth one my sophomore year. I wanted to switch the camp to get a different experience. And then my senior summer, last summer, I went to Michigan again. This time, not necessarily because I thought it was a good experience. The reason I went primarily was because they offered me a lot of financial aid to attend their camp, which is another thing that I think is worth noting, is that debate camp is expensive. It usually ranges in the thousands of dollars for about like a month or 2 months of experience. But for me, I was able to get $2,250 out of the $2,700 tuition covered my senior year summer, because I presented like demonstrated need, and I also was in close contact to the sort of people who ran the camp and the institute, and I was also like a nationally ranked debater at that time, which helped me a lot. In terms of like resources outside of camp, I think that it's possible to be successful in debate without having to go to camp. So I don't think you have to spend all of that money, especially if it's a financial burden. There are a lot of resources on like Reddit, on Discord, at least for policy debate. There are a ton of lectures on YouTube for free. So you can watch those lectures, the same lectures that people would get at camp. You can watch them for free on YouTube. And that's a really helpful resource that will sort of just guide you in your preparation and help you grow.
Cool. Yeah. So it seems like there are a lot of resources, and also we've introduced kind of ISSDA and also the WeChat groups, other debate courses. I think if you're willing to kind of spend some time like researching, I'm sure there's going to be ample resources for you. I think there's a question specifically for Richard. They ask like, how did you, I mean, you already kind of talked about this, but like, how did you kind of overcome your shyness during your early stages of debate? So they probably just want you to kind of expand on that.
For sure. So I think a huge part of that shyness sort of came from like, just me growing up in Arkansas, where there aren't that many people who look like you or speak like you, and compounded with like a host of different factors. It was definitely something that I had for a long time before I started debate. I saw another question that was really interesting, which was about theater. I actually did theater camp for a few years before I did debate, and that also helped a lot. I actually never talk about that. I completely forgot I did it, but those two things in conjunction, but mainly the debate part, just being forced to be in environments that you're uncomfortable in, and slowly. It will take time, it will take energy, and it will not be that fun at first. But, being in that environment is so enriching in the long run that I do think that it is worth it. So I think that for students who are struggling to overcome their fear and anxiety, I think that you should let them know that it's not the result, it's not the tournament result that matters. It's the process of changing the way that you think, that you view the world, and that the way that you speak about the world, the way that you speak about your life, about your own identity, or about the way that current events are happening. Being able to research that, change the way you think about it, and change the way you present that, you can sort of isolate that from the actual result. You can isolate that from the judge. You can isolate that so you're just doing this task, this craft that you're trying to perfect, and that can reduce some of the stress and some of the surrounding tensions of debate that can cause it to be stressful, like public speaking.
Cool. Yeah, and I guess this question is probably for both of you. Clara can jump in first. What are the kind of the day-to-day kind of activities, I guess, training that you can do to become a better debater? I think you've already kind of, touched on this topic, kind of just being like, just reading news, kind of being like very aware of kind of the stuff going on. But I guess like, is there anything else that you want to kind of add on to that?
Yeah, I think basically getting as much practice as possible. So my school, we had like in the winter term, debate was considered like a sport exemption, basically we called it. And so because of that, we kind of got a lot of practice just debating with other people. Also, getting experience judging a debate is also really nice because you get the experience of what the judge feels like, which also helps you get better as a debater, because you know what it feels like to be a judge. Like judges, and they have to be able to follow your argument if they're going to like vote for you. So that kind of teaches you the lesson of like making sure you're really organized when you are giving your speeches. But if you aren't able to do that because of, I don't know, how the school runs the debate or lack thereof, I think even just practicing talking about something on your own in a timed speech, because you don't have infinite time to talk when you're at a debate tournament. Just getting practice having timed speeches where you're really organized is also just good experience. Just having a little bit of speech practice where you only have like that one shot, that one time frame. So I guess that would be some of my advice. And then obviously also just like researching and making sure you're up to date with kind of the major issues that are happening in the world.
Yeah, cool. Richard?
I think that for me, so this was luckily something that was very organic for me because I found the things that we talked about in debate extremely interesting. And I found the things that I decided to discuss in debate also very interesting. So it was really easy for me, like when the topic, for example, like 3 years ago was about immigration reform in the United States, I thought that was like a really interesting topic. It was something that, you know, I could just go out of my way to read about and it wouldn't feel like I was doing work. It would feel like, oh, I'm learning these new things. This is awesome. And so that coupled with the fact that it's like when you're dedicating a lot of time to like this interesting thing, you kind of think about it a lot, even in your spare time. Like if you play basketball, you might, you know, watch videos of like like the NBA or basketball players, or you might like, you know, practice in your spare time, or even when you're not practicing, you might think about like a game that you had last week. You might think about something you saw on TV. For me, a lot of those same things happen for debate. So like when I was riding on the bus or in the car, I might, you know, go through some of the arguments I had heard at a tournament the prior week and just work through ways to answer them, work through ways to like make it make sense, understand what my opponent was trying to do, understand how I might respond, or I might think through my own arguments and think through how I can make myself better or like things I can improve. And it was just a really organic process for me. It wasn't something that I would like, you know, like write down like a step-by-step plan to do, but it was just like the way that my mind began to approach problems slowly started to shift, and that shift was really tangible and it was important.
Yeah. I think it fits perfectly into, you know, this greater discussion of like if you want to truly excel at something, you have to find the intersection of like what you're good at and also like what you're passionate about. Only if you can kind of find the overlap of the two things can you, you know, truly enjoy, you know, what you're doing. And, you know, I think, you know, this goes to debate, but also so many different areas in life. Yeah, I guess for the final 6 minutes, I'm not sure if it's possible for the moderators to kind of just give open mic to the participants. But if you have like lingering questions for the two panelists, I'm not sure how we can do this. Chris, can we see like who's raising hand? And
yeah,
so,
okay, I can definitely help. So yeah, where this QR code is what we're sharing is a Wiswise about public speaking and debate talking group, and later I'm gonna share another Wiswise student organization, and right now I'm gonna let the hands raising. Yeah, let's talk. Okay, so Xiaoyu, you can talk first. You can unmute yourself and talk.
Hello. Hi. My question is, if the school doesn't sponsor, so my son's school sponsors only public forum, and then he's losing his partner. Then he cannot find another good partner to go. Then in that case, you know, we understood you only can represent the school for the debate. But is there any way to go around? He can find somebody else from a different school to compete for, like, representing a different organization. He's currently second semester of sophomore. It's probably not very practical for him to switch back to Lincoln Douglas.
I think oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, there are some organizations that you can compete for, like that they organize as their own team. So I know in my league there was one organization. It was called Westfield Academy. They're in like the Connecticut area, and they kind of people from different schools would compete under the name of Westfield, and so you can kind of possibly find a similar organization in your area and compete with people under that organization. But also some tournaments also allow for mixed teams as well. So it's kind of just like looking at what the tournaments allow and then possibly finding other organizations. But I never personally participated in those, so maybe Richard might have something else to add.
Yeah, I went through something similar actually in policy where my junior year, after we bid to the TOC, my partner quit debate because of mental health issues. And that was like a really stressful situation because like it sort of takes it out of your control. So I'm sorry about your son and his partner. I think that since your son is quite young in terms of the debate career, it's possible for your son to find a partner who might be new to the activity and sort of recruit or convince someone to join, because public forum is a bit more forgiving in terms of the experience threshold than something like policy or Lincoln Douglas. So I think also what Clara said about the hybrid teams is true and interesting, and you could search that out, although I personally have no experience with that. I know that a lot of tournaments do not allow hybrid teams, like your son and a student from another school. I also don't think it's too late to do Lincoln Douglas, in the sense that one of my friends started Lincoln Douglas the second semester of her junior year, and she recently bid to the TOC last weekend. So, which is like the one of the highest honors in Lincoln Douglas debate. And so she had about a year and a half of policy experience. She started freshman year, and she bid to the TOC and LD her junior year. So I don't think that your son should quit debate regardless of like the partner situation, but I hope it, gets resolved, and I hope that y'all sort of figure out a solution.
Hi, can I also jump in here? I'm so sorry. So I think to expand on both of the other panelists' answers, you cannot, for a lot of tournaments, they do not allow partners from different schools to compete together as a team. But if you both sign up under a specific third-party league or association, you can compete under that league or association, but you won't be able to compete under your school club. I felt like that was just something that I should clarify.
Okay, just very quickly, if we compete under a third-party organization, can he still go to the TOC and national, because he's trying to get national qualified?
I believe, so the way NSDA works is each club signs up for an account and they register students under that account. So as long as the association or third-party league has an NSDA account that both partners register under, they can qualify for those debates. But it's very rare. Most people compete under their schools. So, and most associations are, you have to pay to be in it, whereas most school clubs are a once-a-year club fee. But if the other panelists have anything to add.
If not, I'll good. I think we have time for maybe like one more question. So Leah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. So I love your presentation and share all your experience and all that. So I debated in Chinese, so I never debated in English. But I truly agree with you that debate is a very fun activity. However, my 10-year-old does not share my passion. So she has some specific challenges like anxiety and Asperger's, but she's a very talented person. However, speaking is her least favorite thing to do, let alone speaking in public. So I think that like some of you already talked about, parents should not push too hard. At the same time, I want to expose her to it, and hopefully she would learn to not necessarily love it. Maybe, hopefully she will love it, but at least she would get more comfortable with it. So any tips or tricks to do that? And also just curious, have you run into any peers who have similar situations such as anxiety or being on the spectrum, but still do okay in debate, or develop some kind of comfort or love in debate? Just curious. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Richard or Clara, do you want to take a stab?
I can go. So I think that I'll answer the second part of the question first, and then I'll look back. So I've had partners who've had severe anxiety disorders, or if not disorders, like severe enough anxiety and debate that warranted like medication. So sort of like help them combat those problems, because it was like so consuming to the point where like they could not enjoy doing things that they previously enjoyed. And one of those was debate. I think that debate can be a very liberating and powerful space for discovering yourself and building confidence, but it can also be a very stressful place. It can be a place where, you know, you're exposed to belligerent judges or opponents who can be disrespectful. It can be a place where you're put on the spot and you have to, you know, execute perfectly, or else you feel like you fail. So I don't think that debate is the most comforting space at all times, but I do think that there's value found in there. I think that for your child, one of the most important things is to support them, but also from personal experience. I know that I joined debate because all of my friends joined debate. Like, this is actually something that happened to me in 9th grade. Not only, in fact, did all of my friends join debate that year, but this person that I looked up to a lot when I went to middle school with her was also in debate. And I was like, oh, if she's smart and she's doing debate, I want to see what it's like, try it out. And just having a support network of friends in the activity that like you can talk to about the competition or anything that's stressing you out, or like even just the little things, helps a lot, because otherwise, you know, debate can feel lonely. It can feel like unhospitable. But if you have like a network of people who are in that activity that you like, that like you, a lot of like the worst parts of debate can be sort of mitigated. So just having that support network is important.
Yeah, I definitely want to second a lot of those things. Like, I mean, I joined debate because I did a little bit in middle school. So in high school, naturally, I kind of wanted to continue that. But in terms of Model UN, I also got into that because a lot of my friends who were involved in debate were also trying out for the Model UN team. And so that was kind of how I got sucked into it, even though I knew absolutely nothing about Model UN at the time in my freshman year. But also, I think that like your daughter or child is still quite young, so maybe at this point, it doesn't have to be like as much of a conversation. I think it's good to start debating young, but you don't have to. I know a lot of freshmen in my experience, like running or helping to run my debate team, who never had any experience. And their first time, like when I watched them debate for the first time, they were very shy, like didn't stumbled over their words a lot, and didn't really know how to debate, but they improved very quickly. And the students that stuck with it ultimately ended up being very strong debaters in the end. So I think it's just a process, and I think every child is a little bit different. So I think you shouldn't be too worried at the moment, because they are still pretty young.
That's a perfect answer. Okay. Unfortunately, I think that's all the time we have for tonight. If you have lingering questions, sorry, we can't get to you, but you can also scan this QR code to join our WeChat group, and we'll try our best to continue to be a great resource for all of you throughout your debate journey. Final note, I just want to express my gratitude to AFI for making this happen. My gratitude to Richard and Clara for sharing your amazing experience, and of course for all of you for taking the time out of your busy Saturday night to tune in and to be in conversation with us. So thank you so much, and that's it. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. Yeah. And I think we're done today. So I'm gonna close the seminar, and yeah.